Hello YouTube, Arrow Assassin here today, and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing a video on my favorite classes for PvP and BFA so far. So I've been playing BFA for a little bit now, and maybe you guys are looking to re-roll or just play another ult for fun. And hopefully the goal of this video is to maybe get you guys interested in those classes. So I thought I'd do a video on it, and keep in mind, everything in this video is my opinion, and if some of you disagree with me on it or want to add something to it, feel free to do so. Like I said, the goal of this video is to hopefully get you guys interested in these classes that I'm about to talk to you guys about. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Alright guys, up first is Fire Mage. This is a spec that I've enjoyed for a very, very long time. If you've been around my channel for a long time, you will know how much I enjoy Fire Mage. So with that, let's go over the pros. Pros, they have really, really good burst, which you're about to see. You can pretty much see how much damage I completely did to that priest. They have Greater Power Blast, which is one of the most satisfying abilities in the game, in my opinion. Nothing feels really good, unlike getting a Greater Power Blast off. It just feels amazing. They have decent CC, so Ring of Frost, which is a talent, Dragon's Breath, which is baseline for Fire Mages, and of course, Polymorph. Shimmer, which is a talent, and say you're in the middle of casting a spell, like Greater Power Blast, and if somebody charges at you, like a warrior or a red paladin, you can quickly use Shimmer, which is blink, and it'll still continue your cast, and you could still pretty much get it off. Nothing feels more satisfying than getting it off, because I've won fights that way. Because I used Shimmer and blinked and got my Greater Power Blast off, and just won the fight simply due to the fact that it saved my behind a few times, of course. Cons, Shield can break the CC, so I've seen Fire Mages complain about this, and it's kind of true a little bit. Say you use Dragon's Breath on somebody, and your shield breaks it. So it really sucks, but it does happen. It can also break your Polymorph, another very, very bad thing, but it does happen. I've had it happen to me. Outside of burst, the damage is a little bit weak in my opinion. So outside of Greater Power Blast Meteor combo, I feel like the damage is lackluster compared to at least some other specs in the game. Greater Power Blast can be considered burst, and it doesn't have a cooldown. The problem is, you have to get it off. And if there's a smart player who knows how to interrupt it, he can pretty much ruin your day. So, if you can get it off, the damage is really, really nuts. That's really all there is to it. Counters. Hunters counter mages pretty hard, simply due to the fact that BM is non-stop on the move. You can't interrupt them. They could set your pet on you. There's just not really much you can do against BM Hunters. I don't know enough about Marksman, don't really see him. I don't personally play it, so I can't really say for Marksman. Survival is pretty much the same as Beast Mastery. They just stick to you on glue. You can't really interrupt them. And overall, Survival is just really powerful against mages, same as Beast Mastery. Feral Druids have insane off healing, can stick to you like glue. You can't polymorph them. You can't root them because they get just out of your roots. So Feral, in my opinion, at least over Hunters, is the #1 overall counter. Like, you'll have an easier time against a Hunter than, for example, a Feral Druid. Probably for Boomkin too, but I've had a little bit of better chance versus Boomkins than, obviously, Feral Druid. I'm adding Warlock to this list as well, simply due to the fact that their toolkit. They have Fear, they have Death Coil, they have Shadow's Fury. They have pets, they have a pet silence, pet stuns. Overall, their kit is just designed, I feel like, good against mages. I would add rogues to this list, but I feel like those three counter us more, so I've surprisingly won more rogue fights than the other three, but rogues can definitely be a pain in the butt too, and don't underestimate them because I would add them to the counter list. With that, guys, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Alright guys, up next is Hunter. If you guys have been around my channel for a while now, none of you guys will be surprised by this. My two favorite specs, of course, are Survival and Beast Mastery. So, let's go over the pros. This is going to be pretty much for both Beast Mastery and Survival, is the mobility. They have tons of mobility, believe it or not. It's at least compared to like a DK or a Warlock, for example. They have Disengage, and if you use a talent, it gets you out of roots and increases your movement speed for a short amount of time. They have Master's Call, which also gets you out of roots. They have Aspect of the Cheetah, so if you use that with Disengage, of course, you'll still be good. They have Harpoon, or at least Survival does, I should be more specific. Harpoon specifically is for Survival Hunters, which get you closer to the target, so if he's running away, you can go ahead and use that. They have, depending on the spec, Survival has Wing Clip to slow the target down, and the other ones have range slow, so you can use that. I believe all specs do have Explosive Trap now, so if you use it, of course, as an honor talent, you can knock people off cliffs. That's also one of the most satisfying things in the game, so having a knockback. And sometimes you can even win the team fight in, for example, Eye of the Storm, or prevent somebody from capping a tower by an AV when they run up the ramp and they just get knocked off. Those of course are just some examples. In World PvP, you can go ahead and camp a freaking ledge of a cliff if you wanted to. Short story, back in Timeless Isle in Mists of Pandaria, you could just stand on a cliff and just knock people off. That's just an example, so of course people are creative. If you're a creative person, find a spot, camp it, knock people off, get a good laugh. It's one of the most satisfying things to do. They are beginner friendly, so if you're new to the game or just want something that's a little bit more beginner friendly, BM and Survival are pretty good. I don't really play Marksman, but if anybody plays Marksman, feel free to add to this, but yeah, I would recommend Survival or BM to new people. Self-healing. Beast Mastery has a Spirit Beast pet heal, which heals for a really good amount of this expansion pack. So they have really good self-healing. Add that to their healing cooldown. Overall, their healing is just really nice right now. Survival. It does not have Spirit Mend heal because it's BM only type of thing, but they do have Mending Bandage, which removes almost all the dots. It only removes bleeds and stuff, obviously, but and I think a few other things. But yeah, other than the main point is it has really good heals. It can probably bring back 30+% HP, which is better than nothing, obviously. Add that to the health cooldown that Hunter's baseline get. Overall, that's the reason why I put self-healing on the list. Tons of utility. Survival and Beast Mastery have a baseline pet stun, so you can pet stun the target. They have traps. They have a knockback. Like I said, they have the off-healing. Mending Bandage can remove bleeds and stuff, so if you want to use it on somebody else, you can do that. Spirit Mend, same thing. Overall, yeah, that's pretty much the utility. They have good damage even outside of Burst, so outside of Burst and Burst, their damage is still very good. The Honor Talent can make you feign death and remove all dots, so if you got Shadow Priest dots on you, or Warlock dots on you, boom, instant gone. Alright, cons. I couldn't really find much cons for Hunters, I'm going to be completely 100% honest. One of the most important ones that I've noticed on my Hunter, and it was a pain in the butt, is the pet can get stuck randomly. And if your pet list is a Beast Mastery Hunter, you're kind of screwed. So, because that's pretty much your main source of damage. It can hurt Survival pretty much as well, because in order to get focus back to actually do abilities, you have to press Kill Command, which Kill Command you need a pet around. So overall, that's why it's one of the cons, is because without the pet, you're screwed. And that pretty much goes into the next thing. If someone knows how to CC the pet, it can hurt the hunter simply due to the fact of the reasons before. It just hurts hunters. Haven't really found much counters for hunters in my opinion, at least for beast mastery. I would say druids kind of counter them because, like I said, feral is one of the best 1v1s in the game. Boom cannon can do pretty well against hunters too. Other than that, other classes haven't really been as much of an issue, but of course, you have to take into account good players can still, of course, win fights. So, gotta keep that in mind as well. Because I know I'll get some comments saying that I don't have any issues on this class X or whatever. So, keep that in mind. Players can also make a difference, even if you're playing going up against a class that counters your class. That's it for hunters, guys. Alright guys, up next is feral, so let's go ahead and get into the pros here. They have tons of mobility, so they can get in and out of slows. If you got a frost nova on you, just get instantly out of it. If you got hamstring on you, get instantly out of it. And wing clips, you pretty much get my point. So, the pros are the mobility, they're fast, they got dash, they got stampeding roar. Can get out of slows, so mages won't screw you over if you don't really like mages. Then feral will be good for you. Another pro is the insane off healing they have right now. Their healing is just really nuts right now. They have battle res, so if your healer's down in a BG, for example, battle res them. I've had fights be turned around completely and we won it simply due to the fact that I battle res somebody. So it is possible to use battle res and BGs and turn fights around. They are one of the strongest 1v1s classes in the game currently right now. So if you're worried about not winning a lot of 1v1s, then feral would be good for you. Cons is the small cooldown on shapeshifting when you can't spam it like you used to back in the day, old days. So sometimes, like for example, rogues, assassination rogues, they can instantly apply slows right back on you. So it's a little bit of a con because of that. I don't think they have as much CC. Some people may disagree with me on that, but I feel like they don't. They have Mighty Bash, they have another cat stun, but of course those do share DRs. Compare it back to the old days where they had like Cyclone and stuff. I just feel like they don't have as much CC. They're a little bit more, I feel like, damage bots. But that's just me personally. Some people can disagree with me on it. That's perfectly fine. Counters. Personally, like I said, they're one of the most strongest 1v1 classes in the game. But if I had to say a classes that might give you a hard time, a good ret or a good rogue, in my opinion, I feel like will be strong. I mean, obviously, you can outrun a ret, but a rogue, you can put bleeds on them and they can't vanish. But personally, for me, I just put those because ret pally can also get their stun back up pretty fast. And if they burst you without bear form up, and they have their stun, and they stun you, and they burst you when you're in a stun, it's just going to be very painful. So, I don't know. Personally, I don't think they really have much counters. I feel like they're good, and like they're one of the most 1v1 classes, one of the best 1v1 classes in the game. But that's just me personally. So, just a short thing on feral and why I enjoy it, and yeah. Alright guys, up next of course is Balanced Druid. If you've been around my channel for a long time, you guys know I've mained Balanced Druid pretty much almost every expansion pack. And so let's go ahead and dive right into it. Pros can get out of slows, the same reason as feral. They just get out of slows with shapeshifting. They have good utility. So the utility is they have Cyclone, of course it's an honor talent. Disarm. They have a Roots, which in Legion, it didn't really break on damage, but they nerfed it, of course, in BFA, so it does break on a certain amount of damage now, but you can just burst somebody in the Roots, and it'll stay up for a decent amount of time. Or, for example, you can Root Beam the healer, and they have to either sit in it or trinket it, and it can win team fights that way in Battlegrounds, or if you got a melee on you, of course it's an anti-melee talent, so helps out a lot. They can provide crit for the group, so if you star search somebody, your group and yourself get a crit buff, so that helps out fire mages, destruction warlocks, a bunch of other classes, of course, but you guys pretty much get the point. They have good off healing. I'm not sure if it's like better than Feral's. I feel like Feral Druid is obviously better healing compared to Boomkin, but Boomkin is pretty much, still pretty good in the healing department still, which is a nice switch up from Legion. I feel like they're a bit more of a tanky caster right now if you take, of course, a few talents. So I feel like they're a little bit more tanky caster wise. Battle res, the same thing as Feral. Battle res can win you fights if you battle res somebody like a healer. You never know. Some fights can turn around. Cons. They have a really long cooldown on silence, so if you interrupt somebody, just be careful because fire mages will be like, oh, he doesn't have his silence up, let's greater power blast. That's just an example, of course. They have that small cooldown on shapeshifting, which I was mentioning from Feral Druid, of course. Let's go over counters. Warlock, because if you use your only interrupt on them, they have just the toolkit to annihilate you, in my opinion. Same reason I said in a few other, what I said earlier, is they have Death Coil, they have Shadow's Fury, Pet Stuns, Fell Hunter, and Affliction could probably just out heal you because they have, between all the CC they have, and they can interrupt you. It's just overall, in my opinion, Warlocks are a counter. And then the final one is Rogue. Simply due to the fact they're annoying, they will screw you in the butt. You'll pretty much, they're just overall designed to kill you. Cloak of Shadows, Vanish, so many stuns. Overall, they'll just make your life a living hell. That's pretty much it. And those are, in my opinion, are the hardest classes to deal with on my droid currently right now. And the final class is Havoc Demon Hunter. This is something I just recently got to 120. I haven't made a background video to tell you guys about it yet, but I did make an arena video, so yeah, I'll probably get to that eventually. But anyways, let's go into pros. Good mobility. So, as many of you pretty much know from pretty much every class I picked, mobility is a huge thing for me. I don't really like not being able to like escape fights or to catch a target really much. I feel like that's just one of my major things. I'm pretty sure probably a lot of people like doing that too, simply due to the fact they hate when a target gets away from them, all that kind of stuff. So, mobility, they got Fell Rushes, Vengeful Retreat to get out of slows. They have double jump and can glide to places where people can't even reach them. It's really hilarious. Sometimes you even get hate whispers from that. So there's that. There's also places like you can, like I said, get to where other classes can't. So it's nice for questing and of course and all that. Of course, this is about a PvP video, of course, but you guys know, for example, it's just something that's really, really nice. Their self-healing is, it was nerfed in BFA, but it's still, for the most part, pretty decent if you take Demonic and stay in Metaform. So the healing is pretty decent for the most part. Their burst damage is pretty nuts compared to some other classes, so I feel like the burst is really good. They can escape fights, so this goes back to the whole mobility thing. You can escape fights with Vengeful Retreat, you can jump down, glide somewhere else, Fell Rush, get to places you can't really get to. Double jump can make casters hurt themselves. There's an honor talent where if you put it on somebody and if they don't cast, it can be removed, or if a healer can dispel it. But for the most part, people are pretty tunnel vision these days, and when I use it, like a good chunk of people either don't dispel it or they don't pay attention. Sometimes I don't, even I admit that, but yeah, it's really nice. Think of it kind of like a mini Karma versus casters, I guess. So if you play Windworker Monk and you know what Karma is, think of it kind of like similar to that, except it doesn't really stop damage from going up against you. They can still hurt you, but it just basically ends up like, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Think of it like that. Can reflect dots back. There's an honor talent. and say you have like 20 million UA dots on you. Of course, that's not really a thing. It's just an example. Like, okay, better example. Say they have 5 on you, and you have priest dots on you. You can reflect it right back at them and completely negate their entire damage. Of course, they can have to reapply it, which is not really probably maybe that huge of an issue. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much what the Honor Talent does. They have a mini Cyclone. It's not spammable, of course, like it is with druids, but it's pretty useful. So you can CC somebody like you just saw me do, and imprison them. And it's basically like a mini Cyclone. And they can't do any damage or receive any healing. Of course, they can trinket it probably, though. This one is a huge one for me. They can see stealth. So if you hate rogues, like I do with the Burning Passion of 1,000 freaking Suns, this class will be so very good for you. Like, you'll just love seeing it. Even if you don't get the kill on them, it can completely screw them over so the team could kill them, and nothing is more satisfying than seeing a dead rogue. Or, for example, if you really want to use it against druids as well, or hunters, like you can see right now, this is basically what Stealth Sight does. I got that guy out of stealth, and we just jump him completely. So, it's satisfying. Damage is, actually no, wait. Cons, sorry, I have looking at my list here. Cons. Damage is a bit low outside of meta. So, it's kind of like Fire Mage a little bit. The burst is completely nuts. But outside of meta, the damage is still, of course, decent. But I feel like their main source of damage comes from meta. So that's just my personal opinion. Of course, and another con is they have a weakness to roots. So if you're rooted, it's going to give you kind of a little bit of a hard time as a demon hunter. Alright, counters. Druids, and for the same reason I just said, roots are a demon hunter's greatest weakness. So Pharaoh will give you a hard time because they can just get 5 combo points on you, put the bleeds, they'll get their instant proc, and just root you, and then they'll just pretty much laugh as the bleeds take your health away. And they just keep kiting you over and over, and you're just forced to sit there in the roots. So it's just pretty devastating. I put hunters on this list. I personally don't have as much issues with them on my hunter. I feel like demon hunters are just easily kitable, in my opinion, on my hunter, and I just survived their burst with spearmen and pretty much all that stuff. So I feel like hunters are pretty much a good counter to demon hunters. I wasn't really 100% sure on this one, but I felt like adding it to the list anyways. Frost mages, because they have a ton of slows and they have a roots. Like, versing frost mages, I've been rooted for so long while versing them, and as I said before, roots are a demon hunter's weakness. So I put frost on this simply due to the fact that roots, of course, are their weakness. I wasn't sure whether or not to add them or not, but I added them anyways. So people may disagree with me on this one. I think, I don't know. It's just I'm not really 100% sure on that one. But anyways, guys, this was the video. I would recommend trying out these classes if you haven't. I'm pretty sure these are all my most favorite classes in the game right now. And if you guys have not tried it, they're really worth playing. Of course, every person is going to be different. Not every person will enjoy every single thing in the game. Some of you guys may not even enjoy these at all if you've tried it. Everything, of course, is my opinion in this video. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. See you guys later.